Hello, hello, hello. Um, I just wanted to welcome you to Sunday's Best, and I know that some of you are glued to the TV to watch the Super Bowl. But sometimes in life, you have to get off the sideline and get in the game yourself and make your own success, make your own super extraordinary life. And so we're going to make it quick so that you can do more than one thing tonight. And I hope that we do have some listeners on the line tonight because I want to deliver some great information to you. And if I didn't say it, welcome to Sunday's Best. And this time we are celebrating Black History Month. And we have a lot to be proud of. We have come a long way, but we still have a ways to go. And so last week we talked about getting your house in order and having the importance of having a solid foundation, having those four walls. Who remembers what those four walls were? For those of you who were not on last week, the four walls were food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. Then I added a fifth one, and that was your emergency fund. And we talked about the five lessons of wealth. And so tonight, we want to talk about, we want to celebrate some of those people that, women and men, but we're going to celebrate a woman tonight that went before us. And ladies, when we're finished with this, you're going to realize where I'm headed with this. I'm going to go back first and let's talk about the virtuous woman because the person that I'm going to celebrate or hats off to tonight is indeed a virtuous woman in her own rights. And so the characteristics of Proverb 31, virtuous woman, it says she's valuable, she's more worthy than rubies and diamonds, she's trustworthy, she is good, she is hardworking, she is provisional, she's a homemaker, she plans wisely, she is strong. Let's see, she's just so many different things. And so tonight, we're going to celebrate, and I know you've heard it before, heard this person before, but as I dug deep into how she made her success or how she became successful, more impressed and even more willing to call her a virtuous woman in her own rights. And you'll understand what I mean by that. If I were to say, have you ever heard of Sarah Breedlove? You'd probably say, not really. Not when it comes to someone that made history. But yes, the real name for Madam C.J. Walker was Sarah Breedlove. And we're going to talk about her for the next 10 or 15 minutes. She was born in 1867. So ladies, where I'm going with this is, it doesn't matter whether you were back in the day or whether it's today or whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now. Never give up on your dream because you're going to see how Madam C.J. Walker never gave up on her dream. She was born in 1867 and was an African-American entrepreneur. She was involved in politics, and she was an activist, a social activist. She's recorded as being the first Black female self-made millionaire in America's Guinness Book of World Records. Now, some say she may not have been the first, but she is the first documented. So you have to do your homework, and you have to make sure that that you keep good records. Hey, Diane, thank you for joining me. We're talking about Madam C.J. Walker, again, born in 1867. And this woman is savvy for her time. And I really didn't realize her story to the full extent until reviewing it for this particular broadcast. And she, again, was the first acknowledged as the first African American self-made millionaire. And how did she make her millions? I'm glad you asked, because it's an intriguing story. Walker made her fortune by developing and marketing a line of cosmetics and hair care products for Black women through the business she founded. She founded a manufacturing company, okay? She was born in Louisiana, but this woman moved around a lot, and sometimes you just have to go out and get it. If it's not happening in the location where you are, or you can't make it happen there, sometimes you have to go outside your comfort zone. Well, Madam C.J. Walker didn't mind moving around, as you will hear. She made the products. Walker's lavish estate, she made products, but she also had some lavish real estate. And we're going to talk about that, Vivian. Thank you for joining. And it says that Walker's lavish estate in Irvington, New York. Now, she started in Louisiana. Then she went to New York. She served as a social gathering place. It serves as a social gathering place for African American community. And it goes on to say that she was a self-made millionaire. She actually ended up marrying 3 or 4 different times, but no excuses. Sarah Breedlove, Madam C.J. Walker, again, was the oldest of 6 children. Sarah, as she was called by her family, was the firstborn into freedom after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. Her mother died in 1872, and her mother's death was likely from an epidemic, the cholera. And so she traveled, her mother traveled along the Mississippi, reaching Tennessee. So they moved again. And I misspoke. She didn't move from Louisiana to New York. New York came in later. Her father remarried after the mother died, and he died a year later. No excuses. She was orphaned at age 7. Her mother and her father was deceased at that point. But she had commitment and passion even at 10 years old. And at 10 years old, she moved in with her, I guess it was her aunt or someone, but that was short-lived. So what she did after 3 or 4 years living with them is she got married at age 14. And she married Moses McWilliams. And she did that to escape the abuse of her brother-in-law. All right? So she didn't let that stop her either. And a few years after she got married, she had a daughter. Her daughter's name was Aaliyah. And remember that name because we talked about legacy before. And I'm going to show you or tell you tonight how Madam C.J. Walker laid out a perfect legacy for her daughter, Aaliyah. Aaliyah was born in 1885. And so Sarah, Madam C.J. Walker, got married again in 1894. This was a second husband that was deceased. And so around 1906, that's when she married the man, Mr. Walker, and took on the name that made her millions. No excuses. 3 or 4 marriages, no excuses. So when we talk about the virtuous woman and I said she was virtuous in her own ways, we don't read in here where, she talks so much about each husband. But the husband that she did marry, that was a walker, he was already a businessman. All right. So they moved to St. Louis, Missouri, and they stayed there. And around 1888, some other things had occurred in her life with her career. But in the 1912, she and Mr. Walker, made their mark. Now, in history, because everybody starts somewhere, in her humble beginnings, she found herself as a laundress, barely more than $1 a day. She was determined to make enough money to provide her daughter with a formal education. So she continued to work. Then she started to go to a church, St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church. And she saw how other women were more educated and had their sense of style. So she wanted to, tap in on that too. So here's what happened. All of this history, where she was born, what she did, she was the oldest. She was an orphan at 7. She got married at 14. She had a problem. And that problem, finding a solution to that problem, made her the first Black African-American self-made millionaire. Here's what her problem was. She wasn't able, during the time that she was born, she wasn't able to keep her body as clean as she wanted to, and definitely not her hair as clean as she wanted to. So it was common among Black women of her era to have a severe dandruff or scalp ailment, including baldness due to skin disorder and an application of harsh products that they tried to use on their hair that was made to be used on clothes. Back then they used to scrub clothes with a yellow, I forgot the name of the soap, maybe wasn't Octagon, Octagon soap or something like that. But that caused her to have a skin problem. But she didn't hide from it. She figured out a way to find a cure for it. So that's when she looked to her brother, who was a barber during that time. And he knew about scalp and about treatment. So what she did was she became a commissioned agent selling products for a lady named Annie Malone, an African-American hair care product entrepreneur, millionaire, and owner of a pro company. So she worked with this lady for a long time. And I like to tell people, you got to master the crawl. That's what one of my mentors told us. You got to master the crawl. You can't always jump out there and open a business that you know absolutely nothing about and not seek the advice and the wisdom of wise people, of experience, of a seasoned person. So she went to her brother, who was a barber, and then she went to work for this lady. And what she did was she learned every single thing there was to learn about hair care. All right? And she began to take her new knowledge to develop her own line of products. So that was a problem in the making right there, because a lot of people will come and they'll glean from you, and some of them won't even say thanks. But she and this lady, they did have a falling out, a parting of the ways a little bit. So the controversy developed between the two of them. So Sarah, who is now Madam C.J. Walker, put a little twist on her product. But Miss Malone said she was stealing her formula, a mixture of petroleum jelly and sulfur. How many of you remember the product Sulfur 8? How many of you remember petroleum jelly, a Royal Crown hair grease? So this was some of the stuff that went on back then. So when she changed her name to Madam C.J. Walker, it was not just a name change, it was a game changer. The game was on. So what she did then is her husband, who was also her business partner, provided advice on advertising, on promoting, and he promoted his wife's products. And they decided to go door to door and teach other Black women how to groom their hair as well. So in 1906, Walker put her daughter in charge of her mail order business. Remember we talked about leaving a legacy and making sure that your children know what it is that you're trying to accomplish, what your dream is. So this is where Aaliyah, her daughter, was put in charge of her mail order business. And Aaliyah was in Denver. So these are places that I didn't imagine, starting off in the South, you move around like this and to places where you were definitely the minority. But business was booming for Madam C.J. Walker. So Walker and her husband relocated again to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where she opened a beauty parlor and established Aaliyah's College to train hair culturists. And she was an advocate that Black women become economically independent. She opened a training program called the Walker System. How many of you know you can't possibly work enough hours to become wealthy? You have to find a system. You have to leverage. You have to find a system, because that's a way that things can be duplicated and things can run without your hands touching them. So she realized that early in the game. After Walker closed the business in Denver in 1807, her daughter ran the day-to-day operations in Pittsburgh. Walker established a new base in Indianapolis. The lady is on the move, y'all. She's really on the move. And she goes on and blows up her business there. And that's where she opened her manufacturing company and employed up to 20,000 people over the years through that manufacturing the hair product. And Walker's method of grooming was designed to promote hair growth and to condition the scalp through the use of her products. So she overlaid the product with a product. She did the product, she did the system, she did training for cosmetologists. She trained women how to open their own business. And so the Walker product line had several competitors, including the lady that she went and learned the business from. And that lady's system then became Apex system. So I'm just enjoying this Black History celebration, but it just lets me know that there's nothing new under the sun. And it says Walker and her company employed several thousand sales agents to sell their products. And yes, it was 20,000 women at one point. And you know what? They were uniformed. They dressed in a characteristic uniform, black and white. And they went out, when they went out to prospect an area, they had like an old car that, well, I don't know what you would call it, but it didn't have like a top on it. They just sat in it like it was a convertible. And four women would go out into the community. And her husband heavily promoted, he understood marketing. He heavily promoted her business in newspaper and the magazine. Imagine that. Early 1900s, a black woman being marketed heavily, had a product to sell, got the product because she had a problem. And because she was like the virtuous woman, she she had crafts, she had skills, she was intelligent, she wasn't afraid of hard work, she got up early, she studied, she mastered her craft. She had it going on back then. And so in addition to training and grooming, she taught black women how to budget. There's that word again. We talked about it the last couple of sessions. She taught them how to budget, how to build their own businesses. You can't give away what you're not supposed to give away. If you're gifted and you know how to do something, and you're commissioned to do that thing, it's for you to give away. You got it so that you could share it with other people. And so that's what Madam C.J. Walker did. She showed other women how to budget, how to build their own business, and encouraged them to become financially independent. And she gave a lot. She gave a lot to the National Association of Colored Women. She began to have like little sales club where you could join, and I think that's kind of like network marketing. And says she was the first, on her first annual conference, she had a conference. Yes, a conference in Philadelphia during the summer of 1917 with 200 attendees. The conference is believed to have been among the first national gathering of women entrepreneurs to discuss business and commerce. Isn't that amazing? During the convention, Walker gave prizes to women who had sold the most products and brought in the most new sales agent. She also rewarded those who made the largest contribution to charity in their communities. Walker's name, and I know why, it became even more widely known in the 1920s. And so her business, after her death, that's leaving a legacy, after her death, her company's business market expanded beyond the United States to Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Panama, and Costa Rica. See, the legacy lives on. And, you know, she just, wealth. She started off poor, worked hard, moved around, had disappointments. Husbands died. She remarried, got married at 14. But at the annual gathering of National Negro Business League, she declared, "I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South." I'm going to say that again because I can identify with it. She declared at this league, "I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South. From there, I was promoted to the wash tub. From there, I was promoted to the cook kitchen. And from there, I was promoted into a business of manufacturing, hair goods, and preparation. I have built my own factory on my own ground. The following year, after she made that declaration and that affirmation, she addressed even a larger convention of goers. And guess what? This time, she was the keynote speaker. All right? So, there's a lot to be said for Madam C.J. Walker. Walker commissioned the first licensed black architect in New York City to build her home. And back in the day, it cost $250,000 to build, and it's worth millions today. And so, an opportunity, and see, that's how we need to network. We really need to network among ourselves even more. She gave him the opportunity to design what was in her head. He was an architect, and he built it. Walker became even more involved. She moved into the house in May 1918 and hosted an open house for the Secretary of Negro Affairs and many dignitaries, because she was a little bit into politics, but more into being an activist. And so she pledged at the time to the National Association of Colored Women $5,000. And today, that in today's worth, in 2019, that would have been valued at $77,700. That $5,000 would have valued that a couple of years ago. And so the NAACP used those funds to go toward an anti-lynching program. All right. And Walker left nearly $100,000 to orphanage. She didn't forget that she had a helping hand at one point after 7 years old, when both of her parents were deceased. Her legacy lives on. Walker died May 25th, 1919, from kidney failure and complications of hypertension. She died at 51 years old. And at the time of her death, Walker was considered to be worth between $500,000 and $1 million. Now, you know what that would be equivalent to today. So I am just so excited, and all of this information I learned because I wanted to share it with you, but I learned more about her than I knew before. And the last thing about her is Walker's manufacturing company headquarter building was renamed Madam Walker Theater Center, and it opened in December 1927. It included the company's office, the factory, as well as the theater, a beauty school, a hair salon, a barbershop, a restaurant, a drugstore, a ballroom for the community. This lady had it going on, y'all. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Being successful is hard work. And my pastor said these two words this morning: commitment and passion. Commitment and passion are essential, I say, for success after reading about Madam C.J. Walker. God gives you the gifts and the talent, but you have to be determined and committed to drive yourself the rest of the way. So that's what I had for you tonight, and I'm going to see if there are any questions, and I'm going to let everybody get onto the game. Marie, I see you there. Gloria Cooper. Uh, but he was a womanizer. Okay. Um, okay. Let's see. Sophie, you're on. Thank you so much for getting on. Genevieve is watching. Diane, I think Diane was the first one to let me know I was actually being heard. And Diane says, we still use sulfur 8 hair products, grease today. Exactly. Genevieve says, we can do the same today. And I agree. And that's why I started not to do this tonight, because I didn't want to interfere with anybody watching the game. But then, you know, it's Black History Month, and this was too good to save, or too good for just me to read and enjoy. Ashley Elliott says the series about her life is on Netflix. Oh, it's really good. Okay, I got to see that. Andrea says, wow, Madam C.J. Walker, the ultimate virtuous woman. Commitment and passion. Exactly, exactly. Let's see. Genevieve says, beautiful presentation. Thank you so much. And I want everybody to share this as soon as you get off, before you sit down in front of the TV to watch Super Bowl. Share this, because I want someone else to know that there's a super life that you can have. You know, like I said, you got to work it. You got to work your gifts. We all have gifts, and we have to work it. And it's not enough just to say, I come from the backwoods, or I come from the backwoods of Louisiana. I'm a motherless and a fatherless child. I was born, I worked in the cotton field. I worked as a cook in the kitchen. I cleaned. It's good to say you did all those things. And you know what? What I say, all those things make the journey. They make the journey. They tell you a story. So I am so happy to be able to share this with you. And as I said, commitment and passion. You make the decision to commit to do something. Then you have the desire and the drive to be passionate about it. Then you got to learn everything there is to know about it. Not just dip your toe or stick your finger in. If you're going to be the expert, you got to know just about everything there is to know about. And even at that, you got to always be willing to learn more about it, because you want to be the trusted authority of whatever it is you do. Now, this woman ended up with a bunch of stuff, y'all. And to have this huge, her factory vision after her death. They can put all the things. Remember, her brother was a barber. They got a barber shop in there. They got a hair salon in there. They got a theater in there. And she's got $1 million property. She bought more than one property. More than one. Okay? So, you can do it. We can do it. It's Black History Month. Find somebody to lift up. Find somebody to edify. Because you know what? They deserve it. When you are committed, and when you work hard, and when you are passionate, just know God gave you the gift, but you got to work it. You got to make it into what it is, and you got to go outside of your comfort zone. You could stay in your hometown and say, there's nothing, this is all I know. If I leave here, I'll be leaving everybody I know. But sometimes you have to do that. You really have to do that. And I know in our lives, that's what we did. You have to sometimes get uncomfortable or be uncomfortable to get comfortable. So have a good night. Have a good life. And I hope your favorite team wins. I don't have a favorite. I don't have a dog in the fight. So I'm just going to go in and watch it with my husband. Whatever team he's cheering for, I'll cheer for it. So thank you, Vivian, and everybody else that's on the call. And share this video. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good life. In fact, have $1 million life.